Welcome to the Love Story with Lisa channel. Today, we're bringing you a brand new story. Shade leapt onto my shoulder and whispered, "What's your next plan?" Lowering my voice, I replied, "First, investigate a few key figures. The prince. The one who saved him. The one who harmed him. And possibly the mermaid princess." Shade nodded and jumped down ahead of me. Snow trotted past with his little backpack on, short legs moving quickly. The two of them truly never separated. When we reached the city gates, we saw a large notice posted outside. Noticing my gaze, Derek 9 explained, "They're looking for a doctor. Whoever saves the prince will receive a 3,000 square meter estate and several chests of treasure. Of course, players can't take any of it out." I nodded and followed them into the palace. Outside the prince's bedchamber, several players had gathered. Zero asked, "Any progress?" Everyone shook their heads. Zero said, "Seems like we'll have to take a risk. The story of the mermaid can't be separated from the sea." While they remained outside, I found an opportunity to slip into the prince's chamber when no players were around. I quietly approached the head of the bed and whispered, "I was sent by the overseer." As I spoke, I showed him the book the overseer had given me, clearly forged from pure gold. The prince, half dead, glanced at me. His eyes flickered slightly. Weakly, he said, "Your method of testing is rather clumsy." Huh? Could he actually be the boss? Then he said, "Fine. I admit it. I am the false prince. The true prince has already been imprisoned in the sea by the mermaid princess. Even if you know this now, it's too late. After midnight, the prince will completely transform into a merman." What a letdown. I had gotten excited for nothing. I shook my head. "In that case, just lie there." The sinister smile on his face froze instantly. He looked like someone who had just revealed a shocking secret, only to find no one cared. For players, this might have been explosive news. For me, it had no value whatsoever. I turned and walked out. Derek 9 looked at me. "Well? Ready to go?" At this rate, all the key characters are under the sea. Looks like we'll have to dive. I said calmly, "I know why no one can save the prince." The players gathered around, disbelief written across their faces. A man with hair like a bird's nest blurted out, "Speak. What's the reason?" I looked at them. The one inside is the false prince. The true prince has already been taken into the sea by the mermaid princess. Derek 9's mouth fell open. "How did you figure that out?" Before I could answer, Zero offered a rational explanation. "That makes sense. It explains some of his actions. Even the most skilled sailor might not survive swimming ashore during a storm, yet he did." Zero's gaze settled on me, complicated and unreadable. "We should have realized sooner." Derek 9 exclaimed, "You're amazing. Are you in any guild? Want to come to Night Owl for supper with us?" "I'll pass for now," I said. "You can go in and question him yourselves." I only scared him a little, and he confessed everything. When a man intends to plant flowers, the flowers refuse to bloom. When he idly sticks a willow branch into the soil, the willow grows green without effort. The others immediately rushed into the palace. The false prince, who had been holding it in for so long, finally seemed relieved. He began recounting the entire course of events in vivid detail. How he orchestrated the attack on the ship, kidnapped victims, fabricated evidence, and stirred up conflict between neighboring kingdoms. He spoke with growing enthusiasm, no longer gasping for breath. Color even returned to his face. The players looked at him coldly. So you must know a safe way to descend into the sea, right? At the shoreline, everyone gathered together with the kingdom's fleet. I gently shook the magic potion in my hand. Its brilliant, shimmering colors made it look suspiciously like poison. I glanced at Derek 9. Will something happen if we drink it? He shrugged. Who knows? Just drink it. If we want to save the prince, we have less than half a day left. The prince isn't important, I said quietly. Sooner or later, he'll come ashore on his own. I'm worried the boss is the mermaid princess. If that's the case, we can't just wait on land. After thinking for a moment, I downed the magic potion in one gulp and leapt into the sea. Splash after splash sounded beside me as the grand army followed. Even the mutated sea creatures scattered at the sight of us. But this was only the shallow waters. Once we entered the deep sea, the army would no longer be able to provide support. Far behind me, at a great distance, a shadow of black and a shadow of white followed silently. Shade had said the sea could not contaminate it. That was the only reason I dared to dive this deep. As we entered the darker waters, monstrous shapes emerged clearly, ferocious beasts that actually spoke in human voices. Brothers. A feast today. The grotesque creatures bared their fangs and lunged at us. Now it truly became a scene of the 8 immortals crossing the sea, each displaying their own powers. Everyone unleashed their abilities. Some wielded magic, others cast spells, others emitted waves of radiant light. A scar-faced player cursed loudly, "Damn it! If only we could use these skills under normal circumstances. They only work in battle scenes. What a useless system." To avoid drawing suspicion, I immediately distanced myself. I had nothing spectacular like them. I was just an ordinary person. A giant crab charged at me, but Shade arrived at my side in time, like a black torpedo, slamming the crab away with tremendous force. "Hold on tight," it said. I had already sent Snow ahead to locate the key characters. We would approach them directly. I placed my hand on Shade's body. It felt like riding a water dragon. As if loosening my grip even slightly would fling me thousands of miles away, we circled around the main battlefield. And then I saw them. The mermaid princess was stroking a cat. The human prince was inside a cage, playing cards with the guards. 1 against 3. If you can't even handle 3 opponents, why are you playing cards? I muttered. The moment they saw me, they froze on the spot. As if turned to stone. The players came so fast. I immediately clarified my identity. I'm an NPC from another instance, sent by the overseer to deliver a message. Which one of you is the boss? They exchanged glances. The prince said, "The boss? I think he's at the station where that little girl sells nuclear weapons." The catfish guard shook his head. No. The boss should have gone to the Emperor's new clothes station. He ordered a new outfit there a few days ago. The mermaid princess swam closer while holding Snow. Don't listen to their nonsense. The boss has probably been busy renovating the Little Red Riding Hood station lately. He's adding a job change system. In the future, the Little Red Riding Hoods can become hunters or priests. A turtleback guard spoke up. You're all wrong. The boss went to the Aladdin lamp station to become the genie. He's preparing to let players make 3 wishes. For NPCs. For completely different pieces of information. My head began to spin. so none of you is the boss? I asked. They shook their heads. No, so I had come all this way for nothing. The prince looked at me, then took out a pouch of sunflower seeds from his person. Want some? I grew them myself. Very fragrant. In the end, I sat down for a moment and tried some. Ironically, they were indeed very fragrant. I think you could open a chain store with this, I said. The prince replied, I only grow them for myself. Recently, I've been experimenting with new fruits and vegetables. He looked at the mermaid princess. Princess Narina, would you like to try some? She glared at him. I'm rather conservative. I don't accept your newfangled inventions. What a pity, the prince sighed, then turned to the guards. What about you? Another round of cards? They exchanged looks. The catfish guard said, no thanks. Last time I ate your sweet red-beard fruit, I had diarrhea for 3 days and 3 nights. My stomach still hurts thinking about it. The turtleback guard nodded vigorously. I wouldn't dare either. The prince then looked at me. I raised my hand, still holding sunflower seed shells, and asked worriedly, will eating too many cause problems? From what they're saying, the consequences sound serious. He shook his head. As long as you eat in moderation, there's no issue. I let out a sigh of relief. It was a good thing he hadn't opened a store. If he had, he might have ended up mortgaging even his underwear. When time was almost up, I circled back with Shade, preparing to stage the final act. Even though I had disguised myself as a player, the story still needed an ending. After a long and exhausting struggle, the players finally arrived before the princess. Derek 9 stepped forward. Princess Narina, release the prince. The expression on Princess Narina's face made it impossible to hate her. She said softly, the true prince and I truly love each other. Why must you separate us? A chicken-headed player stepped forward. If you truly love each other, then you shouldn't imprison him in a cage. Your love is one-sided and selfish, just like. He glanced around and pointed at the scar-faced player, just like him. Ugly. The scar-faced player stared at him. Wow. Thanks. The chicken-headed player coughed awkwardly. Sorry, brother. I just needed a clear visual comparison. Princess Narina's voice turned cold. Enough nonsense. If you want to save the prince, you must first win a battle. Then she began to sing. It was an exquisitely beautiful melody, so beautiful that many players immediately fell into a charmed trance. Inside the cage, the true prince began to weep. Please. Don't fight for me, he said. I am selfish. I didn't want to shoulder the burden of the kingdom, so I allowed Princess Narina to take me to the depths of the sea. Since childhood, I have dreamed of the endless ocean. I wanted to become a knight. But I am the eldest son. I am destined to become king, to lead the kingdom into prosperity according to prophecy, all of that. It was too heavy for me. Whenever I felt lost, I would come to the shore. Until one day, I heard Ariel's enchanting song. Day after day, I longed for it. I longed for her. Finally, I found my chance. Watching from a distance, I thought to myself, compared to these two, my acting still had room for improvement. Their emotional expression was overwhelming. Zero spoke calmly. But, Prince, the mermaid princess's love for you is false. The prince froze. Zero continued, on the surface, she loves you. Yet she sent someone to impersonate you, to sow discord among neighboring nations. What? The true prince stared at Princess Narina in disbelief. She turned her face away, unable to meet his eyes. Prince. That does not contradict my love for you, she said quietly. I love you. But I do not love humanity. The ocean grows more polluted every day. Whoever thinks of us? The prince fell silent. After a long moment, he lifted his head. Let me return to the shore, princess. Let me become king. Let me gain power. I will make the sea clear again. That is my love for you. When they finally rose toward the surface, Derek 9 leaned closer to me and whispered, I never expected that the one who would save the prince would be the prince himself. I nodded. Yes. Quite an unexpected ending. He smiled faintly. It's time to say goodbye. My name is Derek 9. What's yours? I gave him the alias I had prepared in advance. My name is Tsu Wei. He laughed. I thought Derek 9 sounded like some kind of serial code. Like Night Owl? I asked. He waved his hand in farewell. Goodbye. Next time, I'll treat you to something amazing. When the mission was completed, all the players vanished at the same time. I looked at Shade and Snow. Let's go. On to the next stop. The next destination, the Emperor's new clothes station. Take a look here. Brand new fabrics. Crafted from pure crystal stone. A must-have for summer. Classic Royal Edition, limited time only. Miss it and it's gone. It was an enormous clothing marketplace. Along the way, cartoon characters of every kind were loudly selling garments. At the center stood an old shop occupying the best location. Its sign read, Licensed Fraud Tailor Shop. Below it, in small print, here you may buy defective goods and be deceived. Or you may purchase miraculous garments. I stepped inside. A staff member hurried over. May I help you choose something? His expression practically had the words I am a scammer printed across his forehead. Even the clothing logos looked suspicious. No need, I said. I'll browse. I looked at the shelves. They were empty, the staff member explained. Please choose your garment first. Once selected, it cannot be returned. I walked around. I saw price tags, but nothing else, which, frankly, extinguished any desire to shop. Too expensive. Even though I had no money at all, I still felt compelled to say, too expensive. I turned to the staff member. Has the clothing the boss ordered arrived? He asked me to collect it. But I was delayed. He thought for a moment. The boss picked it up yesterday. It didn't seem like he was lying. Another wasted trip. Then, just as I was about to leave, another employee stopped me. Yesterday, after trying on the clothes, the boss left in a hurry and forgot them here. She brought out a box. Before leaving, I heard he seemed to be heading to the Little Red Riding Hood station. Please deliver this to him. I accepted the box. You trust me that easily? She smiled. Very few people know about the boss commissioning clothing here. Even if you're wrong, it's not worth much. Delivering it on time is more important. She didn't seem like an ordinary employee. Perhaps the manager, I nodded. Don't worry. I'll deliver it. With a clear destination and an item in hand, the journey felt much simpler. On the train, I reviewed the upcoming route: Carrot Station, Ugly Duckling Station, Blue Dwarf Station, Doll Station, Little Red Riding Hood Station, currently under renovation. We had already passed 2 stations. 8 shrinking pills remained, just enough. The train had probably not yet reached 1/3 of its stopping time. I called it the Gale Express. Chug, 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 we arrived, Snow, carrying. The bag was the first to hop off. With her short little legs, she walked forward curiously, looking around. Shade followed me as usual, serious, alert. This was different. I sensed danger, Shade said quietly. It feels like the fairy tale boss is at this station. I exhaled slowly. At last, the mission could finally be completed. At first, I thought delivering a message would be quick and simple. Now it seemed I'd be getting home very late. We waited at the platform for a while. After returning to our normal size, we continued forward. We hadn't gone far when we saw the 3 little pigs building a house. One of them spotted me and called out, "Are you a player? The mission here hasn't opened yet. Please proceed to another station." "I'm not a player," I replied. "I'm here to find the boss." The 3 pigs exchanged glances. The pig on the left said, "The boss seems to have gone to the big bad wolf's castle." I felt I had grown used to absurdity by now, but apparently, there were still greater surprises waiting. So the grandmother in Little Red Riding Hood was actually the big bad wolf. "May I ask where the wolf's castle is?" I said. The middle pig pointed toward the forest. "In the center of the dark woods. Very easy to spot. But I advise you not to go just yet." "Why?" I asked. "The boss is testing the monster system inside. Monsters will spawn randomly and attack anything, players and NPCs alike. Do you know when he'll return?" The pig shrugged. "Who knows? He loves testing new instances. He often forgets to eat or sleep. Could be 10 days. Could be half a month. Even a year isn't impossible." Then there was no other choice. I looked at Shade. "Can we go?" "Let's go," he said. "I'll protect you." The dark forest, withered trees shaped like skulls moaned as the wind passed through them. Thick poisonous mist hung in the air. Blurred shapes drifted about like wandering spirits. Shade had become extremely vigilant here. Only Snow remained carefree. "Hopping after fallen leaves, we've circled this great tree 3 times, Shade said. I stopped. So this was the legendary ghost wall. Walking in circles without realizing it. Probably part of the instance's mechanism. Shade lifted his gaze toward the tree canopy. "There's something up there. Snow, watch over Mama Wu." With that, he climbed swiftly to the top. Snow stopped chasing leaves and obediently walked over to me. She looked up at me without blinking, her round eyes wide and bright. I knelt down and patted her head, amused and touched at the same time. "Snow, you don't have to stare at me like that." She couldn't speak, but she was unbearably adorable. A few leaves drifted down from above. Then 3 red velvet caps fell to the ground. Shade leapt down gracefully. "There are many hats up there." I picked one up and dusted it off. "Do we have to wear them?" "Likely." I placed the largest one on my head. Instantly, I transformed into the shape of a little girl. I glanced down at myself. "So wearing the hat turns you into Little Red Riding Hood." I put another hat on Snow. Nothing changed. Her size remained the same. Shade wrapped his tail around the last hat and set it on his head. Like the sea before, it failed to alter his essence. "I've heard you mention it several times," I said curiously. What exactly is essence? He explained, essence is the fundamental composition of a being or instance. Like spiritual energy in Xianxia novels. Inner force in wuxia stories. To simplify, you can compare it to body weight. He continued calmly, right now, I am a 200-kilogram martial artist. This hat weighs less than a pound. It's very difficult for it to influence me. I nodded, half understanding. So if I'm affected by the hat, it means the essence within me is lower than the hat's? Correct. Objectively speaking, as long as it is an item or NPC with essence, its essence is higher than yours. I decided not to dwell on that. Looking ahead, I asked. So we can continue? I had to admit, becoming a little girl felt strangely nostalgic. As I walked, memories of my carefree childhood surfaced unexpectedly. After a short distance, a giant spider lunged at us. Shade sent it flying with a flick of his tail. Up ahead stood another little Red Riding Hood, wearing the same cap as ours. She narrowed her eyes and drew her bow. You don't seem to be NPCs from this instance. Shade was already prepared to fight. Her words confirmed my suspicion. I quickly took out the golden book. Don't attack. We're on the same side. Inside the big bad wolf's castle, Little Red Riding Hood sat on the highest chair. So, she said, the overseer sent you to find me. I nodded. Yes. I handed her the clothing box. These are the clothes you ordered from the licensed fraud tailor shop. I delivered them. She glanced at it briefly, then set it aside. Let's talk business. What instructions does the overseer have? I relayed the message word for word. If the former overseer is discovered, it must be reported immediately. She frowned. Tell the overseer this. If the former overseer dares to appear in the fairy tale instance, I will kill him and present his head myself. I nodded and handed her the ledger. Please sign. She looked at the notebook, a trace of sadness in her eyes. Does the overseer not trust me? This order applies to all SSS tier instances equally, I explained. It is fair across the board. She froze. It seems. The situation is serious. Then she looked at me again. How are the other Supreme Tier instances doing? I thought for a moment. I'm not very sure. She seemed to ponder as well. Then, from within her own body, she produced a pen and signed the notebook. The two characters, fairy tale, appeared on the page. The moment the ink settled, I felt it. It was as if the notebook and the instance itself had become connected. She looked at me and said quietly, signing this means placing my life in the overseer's hands. I personally don't mind. I'm only afraid that some NPCs might not be willing. If you go to the amusement park instance, she added, be careful. He used to be a key figure under the former overseer. I looked at her. She changed the subject slightly. As for the clothes. Thank you. By the time I left the fairy tale instance, it was already midnight. The overseer looked at me. Successful? I waved the notebook in my hand. Of course. With such an outstanding employee like me, how could it not be easy? He stood up and smiled faintly. Don't rush into the next SSS tier instance. Patch has been growing more restless lately. There's more important work to be done. I knew he was worried I'd exhaust myself. So I imitated Patch's tone and said obediently, yes, overseer. No problem. Before leaving, he suddenly added, right. I heard you don't need the money. The 100,000 won't be transferred. I froze, then I dropped to my knees dramatically. Overseer, you can't do that. I was joking. That's 100,000. Do you know how many sacks of rice that buys? How many barrels of cooking oil? I could eat seafood for a lifetime and never finish it. He gave me a long look. You said you didn't want it. I immediately retracted my previous statement. I object. Overseer, please don't force me. If I start crying, I won't stop. Next episode preview. It turns out that among my 4 magical treasures, there exists one whose essence far surpasses the rest. The Janitor in the horror game. Group activity. With International Labor Day approaching on May 1st, the many-headed overseer decided to organize a collective activity for all the NPCs in the horror game. He handed me 10 million and announced the following policies. 1. Participation is voluntary. Anyone who doesn't wish to join may abstain. 2. Additional leave days may be combined and taken consecutively. 3. 10 million is only the base budget. If insufficient, more funds may be requested. I stared at him blankly. What kind of household starts the May Day holiday on April 1st? Overseer. Today is April Fool's Day. Are you joking? He replied calmly, we don't celebrate Western holidays. This is simply an adjustment of leave. I was stunned. A vacation from April 1st to May 5th? What kind of heavenly calendar is that? The overseer continued, this group activity includes a 0.1% commission based on total spending. In other words, if 10 million is spent, you receive 10,000. If 1 billion is spent, you receive 100,000. If 1 trillion is spent. I began. He narrowed his eyes. No upper limit. For a brief moment, I had the ominous feeling that something catastrophic was about to happen. He clarified, the funds are strictly for fulfilling NPC wishes and organizing the group activity. I sighed in disappointment. There went my dream of financial freedom. At exactly 12 o'clock noon, all players in the horror game were forcibly ejected. A bank card with a balance of 10 million was placed in front of me. This time, I would be the one fulfilling the NPC's wishes. For example, funding their favorite author to write an additional 1,000 chapters, or hosting an unlimited gourmet feast. An intense eating competition was underway. First place, Patch. Second place, Nine Vale. Third place, Butcher Kane. The stage play Dragon Sovereign featured Celine Zhang. The Magician's Act, Secrets of the Deck. The performers bowed deeply. Flattery Poetry Recital, performed by me and my overseer. Reciter, Maya Wu. A long line streaked across the screen. The overseer looked at me. You don't need to go on stage. I truly could not endure that level of public embarrassment. He flipped to the next program. Endurance Challenge, reading novels without sleeping. Performer, Machi. The overseer blinked. When Machi performs, remember to distribute playing cards to everyone. Let's treat it like watching a New Year's Eve gala. But what I didn't expect was the final program. The NPCs had prepared something deeply awkward for me. A song titled, Mama Wu, I Can't Leave You. Singer, Patch. Composer, Celine Zhang. Lyricist, The Tailor. Performed by all NPCs. Now then, please allow me to tell you this story. My name is Maya Wu. I am the only janitor in the horror game. Because I possess the ability to travel across instances, the overseer entrusted me with an important responsibility. Whenever an instance ends, I appear to clean up the aftermath, restoring order, preparing a comfortable environment for the NPCs. Of course, I don't work for free. For each instance I clean, I receive 1,000 in commission, not to mention my fixed salary of 20,000 per month. Between starving to death and working myself to exhaustion, I chose to clean diligently. Even so, I can't clean too many instances, because that wicked overseer established strict rules: no working before 9:30 a.m., no overtime after 4:30 p.m., and on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, when instances are actively open to players, I am forbidden from entering due to safety risks. As for weekends, those are rest days, and he doesn't allow me to work then either. I have a boss like that, and it keeps me constantly anxious and on edge. An ordinary worker like me has never encountered anything like this before. It's like Zhuge Liang meeting Liu Bei, like Yuan Fang meeting Di Renjie. Even if I wanted to give it 80% of my strength, I could only use 30 because of all the restrictions. Most importantly, the NPCs here are all genuinely kind. Patch is always bouncing around. Ninevale is endlessly curious. Grinfeather is good at cards and loves cracking jokes. With them around, life is both joyful and exhausting. I held my notebook and began recording everyone's wishes in the ancient castle instance. Patch, the stitched-together monster, flashed a ferocious grin. Mama Wu, my wish is to see you every single day. I shook my head. That won't do. Pick something else. I don't have that much time. Patch scratched his head, making a metallic clinking sound. Then, I want more trash bins. His bins are all used to store the player's severed limbs. I thought for a moment. For him, maybe one bin really wasn't enough. I looked at him. Change your wish. I'll bring you 2 extra bins later. They won't count as your wish. Patch giggled. Then I wish Mama Wu lives to be 1,000 years old and cleans up for me for 1,000 years. The corner of my mouth twitched. What a wicked wish. Live 1,000 years, and spend them all cleaning here? The thought alone was terrifying. Say something I can actually do. Preferably something related to money. He bared his teeth in a foolish grin. I hope Mama Wu feels as happy when she sees me as I do when I see Mama Wu. I looked at him. With all of you here, Mama Wu is always happy. He stepped closer to me. Then you have to smile, Mama Wu. Watch and learn. Patch opened his mouth wide, showing every single tooth, and burst into exaggerated laughter. I refused. I don't want to learn that. It feels like smiling like that makes me look like a silly deer. His face fell. He leapt up onto the chandelier and sat there, his back looking exactly like a chimpanzee from Party Animals. He muttered, Mama Wu, don't you think humans should be a little more polite? I looked up at him. It's Mama Wu who's wrong. That smile is very nice. It doesn't look like a silly deer at all. He turned his head toward me. That didn't sound sincere. I sighed inwardly, then forced myself to bare my teeth and go, he. He glanced at me. Mama Wu, there's one thing I have to admit. It really does look like a silly deer. Then he burst into loud laughter. Mama Wu, you're going to make me laugh to death. If this were a comic strip, there would probably be a huge string of exaggerated reaction symbols floating above my head. Patch jumped down. Mama Wu, hit me. I won't fight back. I took a deep breath. Mama Wu won't hit you. Mama Wu was wrong first. We should respect each other. We shouldn't make fun of one another. He looked at me. But Mama Wu, you really were hilarious just now. Haha. I raised the handle of my broom and tapped him on the head. He jumped. Ow. Mama Wu, why did you hit so hard? I stared at him. You're pretending, aren't you? You're made of metal and iron. How could that possibly hurt? Patch clutched his head. Look, it's swelling up. I looked closely. It really did seem to be swelling. Suddenly, I remembered when the overseer handed me the broom, the dustpan, the mop, and the cleaning cloth. He had said, to prevent the NPCs in the game from harassing you, I grant you these 4 divine artifacts. Above, they can strike down foolish rulers. Below, they can eliminate treacherous ministers. Could it be that these 4 cleaning tools truly possessed such power? I said to Patch, come here. Mama Wu will blow on it. A little blow and it won't hurt anymore. He gave me a look. Mama Wu, do you think I'm 3 years old? I thought to myself, judging by his personality, his mental age probably didn't even reach a single digit. I'll go find you a bandage. He puffed out his chest. It's fine, Mama Wu. I'm a man. What's one little bump? You still have to tally the other NPC's wishes. Go do your job. Are you sure you're really okay? He nodded. Really? I'm fine. I looked at him. Then what about your wish? Patch replied, I already told you. I smiled and stepped out of the ancient castle instance. Before leaving, I heard a pained cry from behind me. I shook my head and moved on to the next instance. Solitary Island. Introduction. Every person's soul is an isolated island. It may be barren, or it may be lush with trees. The NPC here is an adorable character named Machi. Because he especially loves sitting stubbornly in the novel's comments section. He earned that nickname. He looks a bit like Jigglypuff from Pokemon, soft, pink and round. There's no need to search for him. You can find him with a single kick, because everywhere you look, it's just his backside. Give it a light kick, and he instantly receives the notification. I kicked him lightly. Machi, what's your wish? Machi's shadow immediately solidified. In his hands, he was holding the novel I had brought him last time. He looked at me happily, waving the book. I finished reading it. I said helplessly, that's the latest volume. The next part hasn't been released yet. Machi looked disappointed. It was so good. I want to keep reading. But the author hasn't finished writing. Wait, I suddenly remembered. I have 10 million, this author isn't exactly famous, and I've been wondering how to spend the money anyway. I said to him, don't worry. Leave it to me. I'll make sure you get to see the ending. After leaving the solitary island instance, the overseer looked at me. How's the tallying going? I opened my notebook and checked. I've recorded 53 wishes. He nodded. The instances aren't open right now. I'm fairly free. I'll handle the remaining instances. You go fulfill those 53 wishes. He nodded. The instances aren't open right now. I'm fairly free. I'll handle the remaining instances. You go fulfill those 53 wishes. I closed my notebook and suddenly remembered something else, boss, about the former overseer. Ever since I came out of the SSS rank fairy tale instance, he seemed to have completely forgotten about this matter. Last time, he hadn't mentioned it at all. He smiled. That's exactly why I stopped all activities. I wanted to see, after a month and a half, who would get impatient first, so that was it. No wonder the vacation was so long. I looked at him. Now that you mention it, Celine Zhang hasn't opened her instance in a long time. The overseer said, Celine Zhang is being punished. She's still in the recovery phase. It should take another 2 or 3 days before she's fine. It had already been half a month since I left the Blood Moon instance. I hadn't expected the punishment to be that severe. That only made me feel even more guilty. Celine Zhang had suffered because of me. Go on, get to work. 31 of the overseer's heads flew off toward different instances. I hadn't seen them in a long time either. It was a good chance for them to catch up a bit. Honestly, I was quite jealous. If I had 31 heads, my work efficiency would definitely skyrocket, after leaving the backstage space of the horror game. I contacted the author through a social platform. Hello, I'd like to discuss a collaboration with you regarding your novel Celestial Sect. About 2 hours later, I received a reply. All rights to Celestial Sect belong to Gene Read platform. If needed, I can help you contact the copyright department of the website. I typed back, it's not about copyright. It's about updates. He was clearly confused. Updates? Yes. I want to read the entire novel before May 1st, I'm sorry. At my current pace, it will take at least 3 more months to finish. If I pay you, could you finish earlier? He replied, this is the first time anyone's ever asked me that. Normally, if someone gifts me a guild master, I'll add 3 extra chapters. That's over 10,000 words. I checked. 1 guild master was equivalent to 1,000 units of currency. His normal update speed was 60,000 words per week, and there were only about 50,000 words left to finish the story. I said, what if I gift you 100 guild masters? Could you finish it this month? He replied, 100 won't work. I can't write that fast. What about 1,000? He was stunned. Huh? He seemed afraid I'd made a mistake and emphasized, 1,000 guild masters is 1 million. I know. He confirmed again, you really want to gift 1,000 guild masters just to speed up the updates? I typed, exactly. He fell silent, clearly overwhelmed. To keep him from doubting me, I immediately sent him 100 guild masters. He sent me a flood of shocked and reverent emojis, and even recorded a video for me. I opened it. Big sister, look, this is my writing room. I've already prepared 4 drips. I guarantee I'll complete the mission. I laughed softly. No need to go that far. After that, he didn't reply again. I went to his Weibo and checked his latest post from 10 minutes ago, pausing chats. Logging off social media. Focusing on writing. Please do not disturb. The comments exploded. What happened? Was his account hacked? Someone replied, a big spender is rushing updates, gifted a ton of guild masters to Celestial Sect. Another said, that's terrifying spending power. Some were thrilled. So new chapters are coming soon. Thank you, mysterious benefactor. I left the comments section and gifted another 100 guild masters to Celestial Sect. This pushed my reader level on Gene Read platform to the highest possible rank. I even received discount coupons and top-up bonus cards. Not bad, this could save me money in the future. I drew a half circle next to Machi's wish in my notebook, then moved on to the next one. Plant 1,000 trees in the desert. Leviera. Leviera is a massive creature, shaped like a bamboo umbrella floating on the sea. What it loves most is staring blankly at the sun. It said it grew up on the edge of the desert. Back then, sand dunes could pile up in the yard to over a meter high. I've always wanted to plant trees, it said, but either I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the time. Even though I've donated some money, it's still far from enough. Mama Wu, my wish is to plant 1,000 trees under the scorching sun. I appeared at the edge of a desert windbreak zone. The land had already been contracted. Walk 1 kilometer to the right, and you'd reach the site. In fact, planting 1,000 trees would only require about 30 mu of land. But considering the formation of an entire windbreak belt, at least 220 mu, the rent was cheap. The main costs were labor and saplings. Desertification control isn't as simple as just sticking trees into the ground. I paid to invite experienced forestry workers to teach us. Unexpectedly, they refused any payment. They said that anyone willing to combat desertification was doing a good thing, from selecting tree species, planting distances, coordinating grass species, to irrigation methods. They explained everything in meticulous detail. They told us, in the past, sand advanced and people retreated. Now, people advance and sand retreats. Their hope and joy came straight from the depths of their hearts. It left me speechless. When I returned to the instances backstage, the overseer looked at me. "Why are you so dark now?" I said, "It's okay. Anyway, I'm still not as dark as Shade." The overseer chuckled. "If you were as dark as Shade, it wouldn't just be about race. You'd be a different species altogether." The black cat walked past us, completely ignoring us. Ever since its ability to travel through instances was discovered by the overseer, it didn't bother pretending anymore. Lately, whenever there were no active instances, it wandered around freely. And the white cat that always clung to it followed along everywhere. I asked, "Where's Snow?" Shade leapt onto a bookshelf. Went to Ninevale's instance. Inside Ninevale's instance, Ninevale greeted me cheerfully. "Long time no see." Beneath its 9 tails, Snow was running around happily. I let out a breath of hot air and tightened the fur coat around me. "It hasn't been that long," I said. "Just a week." Ninevale shook its fluffy head, and snow drifted down from its fur. "Really? I thought it had been at least a month." I stepped forward. "That mountain you mentioned, I went to take a look. The foxes there are about to be fed fat by tourists." It narrowed its eyes into a smiling line. "That's good. I hope I'll be the last victim of poaching." I looked at it with sympathy and took out a snowman mold I had brought along. "Look at this. You just clamp it like this." Ninevale curiously leaned closer. A small snowman instantly appeared, its eyes widened. "That's incredible." I opened my bag and poured out a whole pile of snowman molds in different sizes. "Want to try making some mini snowmen?" Snow, who had been playfully nudged by Ninevale, came over too. Its round eyes sparkled like glass marbles. "Meow?" it asked curiously. I looked at it. "You want to play too?" It nodded seriously. I handed it a mold. "Give it a try." Snow lay on the snow and carefully pressed both ends of the mold with its tiny paws. Because the pressure wasn't even, the mold sprang open like a compressed spring. Snow's eyes flew wide open. After leaving Ninevale's instance, I stood before the door of the blood moon instance. My raised hand paused in midair for 2 seconds before I finally knocked. Celine Zhang? May I come in? She hurriedly opened the door and leaned against the frame, looking at me with exaggerated resentment. Mama Wu, you heartless woman. You finally came to visit me. I carefully examined her. How are your injuries? She spun around in a full 360-degree turn. All fine now. It was just a tiny punishment. No need to worry. She paused, then added, actually, you weren't worried at all, were you? I recovered 5 days ago, and you didn't come see me immediately. She wrinkled her nose. I'm mad. And I won't be easy to appease. I explained, I've been busy outside lately, fulfilling the NPC's wishes one by one. The ones that only required money were easy, but anything involving supplies, I had to supervise personally. Celine Zhang covered her ears. I don't want to hear your reasonable explanations. I laughed. Then what would it take to cheer up our beautiful and adorable Celine Zhang? She lowered her hands. I heard there are 2 cats who can travel through instances. Bring them to me so I can play with them. That actually sounded doable. I looked at her. I can ask them to come see you. But whether they'll play with you depends on you. Black and white cat's instance. Shade shook its head. Not going. I don't know any Zhang San or Li Si. Don't want to meet them. I looked at it. Come on. I'll buy you dried fish. Its tail swayed lazily. Just take Snow. Lately it's discovered a new continent, obsessed with visiting everyone. In no time, Snow had already run off to the undersea instance. The undersea instance was Liviara's domain. Instance introduction: the ocean floor holds countless treasures. But where did those treasures come from? When I entered, I appeared on the deck of a pirate ship. Looking into the distance, I saw Snow standing on top of Liviara's head, like Simba in The Lion King, lifting its face toward the sun. Neither of them spoke. They simply drifted along with the ocean current in silence. It looked as if they would continue drifting like that until sunset. I called out loudly, Liviara. I'm here to pick up Snow. Both of them turned their heads at the exact same rhythm. Liviara spoke lazily, oh. Mama Wu. It resembled a giant jellyfish, creating rolling waves as it moved toward me. The pirate ship rocked violently from the swell. When Liviara drew near, Snow leapt onto the ship and looked at me, meow. I looked back at it. Visiting neighbors again? Snow turned to glance at Liviara. Liviara said indifferently, go on. As long as there's sunlight beside me, I need nothing else. I said to Liviara, 10,000 trees are being planted this time. I'll check on them regularly. It looked surprised. That many? I explained. 10,000 trees are enough to form a windbreak forest. 1,000 would be too few. Its tiny eyes, absurdly small compared to its enormous body, blinked. Thank you, Mama Wu. I smiled. No thanks needed. I didn't do much. It was mostly the overseer who paid to hire people to plant them. Liviara studied me. Mama Wu, you've gotten darker. I waved dismissively. Not that dark. I was only there a few days, planted a few dozen trees myself. Its little eyes suddenly filled with tears. Thank you, Mama Wu. Seeing it about to cry, I quickly picked up Snow. All right, I'll go now. See you next time. I truly don't like seeing tears. See you, Mama Wu. Back in the Blood Moon instance. Snow and Celine Zhang faced each other. Celine Zhang gently poked Snow's forehead. You little cat. Snow swatted her finger away with its paw. Meow. Celine Zhang muttered, don't like that, huh? She thought for a moment. Mama Wu, do you have dried fish? I shook my head. All gone. So she floated off and found a stalk of foxtail grass to tease Snow with. Snow cooperated enthusiastically, running back and forth following the swaying grass. Hee hee, Celine Zhang giggled happily. Mama Wu, you can go. You're not needed here anymore. As time passed, most of the NPC's wishes were gradually fulfilled. I realized they truly didn't ask for much. Their wishes were simple. By April 20th, the total spending hadn't even reached 5 million. The overseer glanced at the invoices and receipts, then placed them on the table. So many NPCs, and you've only spent this little? I can't even justify increasing your salary. I smiled. It doesn't matter, overseer. My current salary is already very high. You said it yourself, contentment is happiness. He looked at me. That line about contentment being happiness was something you said. I never told you that. When a boss says something like that to an employee, isn't it just psychological manipulation? I looked at him. Didn't you once say that ambition is an endless poison? He raised a brow. That was something I said to myself. Only when your stomach is full do you start talking about manners and morals. Have you ever lived in a villa? Driven a luxury car? I shot him a sidelong glance. Boss, you're really annoying. He threw his head back and laughed, clearly satisfied. Is the program for the team building event ready? I nodded. The NPCs are already rehearsing. But like this, boss. They can't leave their respective instances. How are they supposed to perform? When the time comes, he said, I'll stream it live into every instance. You don't need to worry about that. I took out the handwritten program list. Do you want to look it over? He waved a hand dismissively. No need. I like surprises. April 21st, to facilitate interaction between NPCs across different instances, the overseer had already activated the live broadcast screens. He sighed with emotion. Now this is what real money looks like. I understood what he meant by money. Souls. It seemed that this time, the overseer had truly made a massive investment. April 29th, Celestial Sect was completed ahead of schedule. As promised, I sent an additional 800 Alliance Leader rewards, bringing the total to 1,000, including the previous 200. I had helped Celestial Sect generate a tremendous wave of influence. Author Lin privately messaged me. I bow before the great patron. He even shared his plans for his next book with me. He practically handed over his entire product blueprint. I tactfully told him that in the future, I might not be able to give such large rewards again. He replied, I know. Saying I don't write for money sounds hypocritical, but I still want to say it. The first time I wrote a story, it was entirely because I longed to express myself. I just wanted to write a good story, that's all. The first like. The first bookmark. The first comment. Those were what kept me going until today. whether there are rewards or not. I'm happy as long as I have readers. I conveyed his words to Machi exactly as they were. Machi said, "Nice. I like it. Full support." May 1st, Labor Day. The first team building event of the horror game commenced right on schedule. The host was not me, but Grinfeather from the Deep Verdant Instance. Dear friends. Hello. I am Grinfeather, your host for this team building event. It is a great honor to preside over such a grand occasion today. This event is sponsored and broadcast by the Overseer. Please give a warm round of applause to welcome him to deliver his speech. On the live broadcast screen, the Overseer's window enlarged to fill the center. He did not waste words. No more talk. Let the program begin. Director, cut back to Deep Verdant. Grinfeather chirped, "Thank you to the Overseer for that concise and powerful speech. We will now immediately begin our first thrilling event, the Gluttony Contest. As you can see, the director's camera has moved to each contestant. Position number 1, Patch. Position number 2, Ninevale. Position number 3, Butcher Kane. Contestant Patch looks strong and appears to have an excellent set of teeth. Contestant Ninevale seems to eat very little. Could he be the dark horse? And contestant Butcher Kane previously declared in his pre-match interview that he is a seasoned glutton. Whether that was bravado, we shall soon find out. Contestant number 6, Rattle. Well, that one is rather obvious. Of course, I mean no offense to his appearance, but I simply do not understand how he intends to eat. Aren't you all curious, dear viewers? Very well. All 6 contestants have been introduced. Now, we invite Mama Wu, our sanitation staff member, to enter each instance and inspect the ingredients, ensuring that no NPC is cheating. The camera shifted to me. I stepped into the ancient castle instance, examining the bread, snacks, milk, fruit, and jerky laid out on the table. Then I turned to the camera. No problems. Patch said confidently, "I won't cheat, and the championship is definitely mine." Someone shouted in approval, and thunderous applause erupted in the live broadcast room. Grinfeather continued his commentary. It seems contestant Patch is extremely confident. Even when facing many formidable opponents, he shows not the slightest hesitation. Let us await his performance. Next, I entered Ninevale's instance. In the antique setting, Ninevale sat curled upon his throne. The table before him held the same food items as the other instances. No problems. Ninevale swished his tail and smiled at the camera. So fluffy. I want to pet him. I recognized Celine Zhang's voice instantly. Grinfeather spoke sharply. During the competition, viewers in the live broadcast room are requested not to make comments unrelated to the event. Celine Zhang is hereby issued a yellow card warning. Further violations will result in a mute. I smiled helplessly and moved on. I stepped into Butcher Kane's instance. This place was stained everywhere with dark, dried blood. When the instance was active, players had to assume the role of animals, fleeing from the butcher's relentless pursuit. It was an S-rank instance, not easily cleared. I walked to the butcher's chopping block and inspected it carefully. No problems. After checking all 6 contestants, the competition finally began. The tense and electrifying eating contest officially commenced. Contestant Patch tore open the first package. He chose potato chips and grabbed a massive handful. He truly could not be underestimated. Contestant Ninevale, meanwhile, was still observing quietly. as though unfamiliar with these kinds of foods. Perhaps we'll have to start a little later. Wait. Contestant Rattle just stuffed food into his mouth, but it fell straight through his throat and onto the ground. Is this considered cheating? Let's see how the judges rule. As expected, Rattle has been issued a red card and eliminated. The scene now leaves us with 5 contestants. As you can see, contestant Butcher Kane remains remarkably calm and eats with refined elegance. It reminds me of a certain famous culinary figure in cinema, Hannibal. By the second minute, Patch and Butcher Kane are still neck and neck. Ninevale has yet to begin and is currently in last place. Contestants number 4 and 5 are trying their best, but there's still a considerable gap between them and the leading pair. And it seems they're about to reach their limits. Let's move to a random interview segment. Director, please select a random camera angle. At some point, Celine Zhang, who had been muted, suddenly reappeared on screen. Grinfeather glanced at her and coughed twice. Director, please lift the mute on Celine Zhang. Celine Zhang declared, I place my faith in Ninevale. Grinfeather blinked in surprise. Oh. Have you noticed something unusual? In this situation, you're still putting your faith in contestant Ninevale? She replied sweetly, justice is justice. Justice will prevail. Ah, I just want to pet him. Grinfeather wiped away non-existent sweat. On second thought, perhaps we should mute her again. At the 5th minute, finally, contestant Ninevale makes his move. He opened his mouth and inhaled sharply, like a bottomless abyss. My heavens, what am I witnessing? He's even eaten the packaging. He's accelerating at an astonishing speed. Patch and Butcher Kane must have felt the pressure. Both switched to a far more aggressive style of eating. If contestant Ninevale had eaten like this from the beginning, victory might never have been in doubt. But at this moment, the outcome is still uncertain. Cheer for your favorite contestant. I shouted at the top of my lungs, go, Patch. Go, Ninevale. Go, Butcher Kane. Go, Saw Blade. Go, Porcelain. The overseer chuckled. You're not leaving anyone out, are you? I smiled. Fairness. Whoever wins, wins. Care to make a bet? He asked. On who will take the championship? I shook my head. I refused to gamble. The overseer burst into laughter. Grinfeather's commentary grew faster and more frantic. The final moment has arrived. The champion is Butcher Kane. Congratulations. With his masterful technique, he has proven himself a true seasoned glutton. This victory is entirely well-deserved. Let us also applaud the other contestants. Together, they delivered a thrilling and emotionally charged competition that left us utterly satisfied. Defeat is a part of life. Contestants, do not be discouraged. Now, we invite the overseer to present the award to our champion. The overseer released a floating head. A trophy hovered around it as it drifted toward Butcher Kane. Facing the camera, the overseer said, Congratulations. Butcher Kane, who usually wore a stern expression, smiled, rare and faint. Thank you, overseer. Thank you, everyone. I will continue striving to become a true gourmand. The camera returned to Grinfeather. Speaking of this competition, we cannot fail to mention a certain audience member who was just muted. Please welcome Celine Zhang, Mama Wu, and the black and white cat duo for a stage performance, Dragon Sovereign of the Blood Moon Instance. My entire body trembled. This was bad. Very bad. Celine Zhang stepped forward dramatically. You rebellious son-in-law. How dare you bite back at your master? Behind shade, Snow lifted her tiny chin proudly and glared at Celine Zhang. You're nothing but a live-in husband, yet you dare anger Mama Wu. How disgraceful. Don't you know that in the Blood Moon instance, the Dragon Sovereign holds absolute power? Shade has already established contact with the Dragon Sovereign's command. You are no longer worthy of being the Wu family's son-in-law. Comments flooded the screen. Snow is so cute. Since when can Snow talk? Can't you tell? It's voice dubbing. This time I stand with Snow. Shade stood atop a rooftop, looking down from above. With his tail, he wrapped up a divorce paper and flung it down before Celine Zhang. I advise you to sign it. Take your head and get out of the Wu family. Shade is so handsome. When is Shade visiting the Pharaoh instance? My pyramid is quite spacious. I can already hear the clatter of your from the underground palace instance. Celine Zhang gritted her teeth. Why you? Don't you dare regret this. Her acting faltered, slightly stiff. Not nearly as natural as the cat's. Shade let out a cold snort. Still stubborn? The Meow family and the Wu family are about to rise into a noble house together. A mere son-in-law like you, if you know what's good for you. Then leave at once. Shade is so domineering. I support Shade. Seeing the comments, Celine Zhang finally lost control. Do you people even know how to watch a performance? Is being handsome justice now? My acting is this good and you can't see it? I hurried over and pulled her back. Celine Zhang, you're breaking character. She took 2 deep breaths. Director, please, let's start over. Director Dracos, the dragon deity, nodded. All right. No problem. 3, 2, 1. Begin. When I returned backstage to the instance, the third program, The Secret of the Cards, had already been underway for some time. The overseer glanced at me. What took you so long? I was comforting Celine Zhang a bit, I replied. She seems to have recalled some unpleasant memories. The overseer said, she used to be an actress. But like most people, she never became famous. The world isn't fair. Effort doesn't always bring results. I nodded. I understood that all too well. Since ancient times, it had always been this way. Without dwelling on it, the overseer shifted his gaze back to the program list. Recital of flattering poetry. Performer, Maya Wu. A long line had been drawn through it. He looked at me. Let's skip that one. Too embarrassing. I can't endure it. His eyes moved down to the next item. Endurance challenge, no sleeping, no rest, reading a novel. Performer, Machi. The overseer blinked. While Machi performs, remember to distribute some poker cards to everyone. Consider it New Year's Eve. After Jester Grimm's brilliant magic performance concluded, it was finally time for Machi's segment, reading a novel. Machi took out a thick book, Celestial Sect. I'm going to begin reading now. He flipped open the cover, glanced at the table of contents, then turned the next page. As he read, he occasionally let out strange, inexplicable laughter. I told Dracos to turn off the comment function. Sometimes a careless remark could wound someone deeply. The world grew quiet. All that remained was the soft rustle of turning pages. The overseer and I began playing cards. I asked casually, after all this time, "Has the former overseer made any moves?" The overseer shook his head. He wouldn't dare. The authority in his hands is far less than mine. If he acted now, I would notice immediately. I looked at him. Last time, the boss of the fairy tale instance mentioned that the amusement sovereign once served as the former overseer's right-hand man. Is it possible he's hiding there? It's possible, the overseer said. But unlikely. To the former overseer, the amusement sovereign is a traitor. I set the cards aside. After this holiday, I want to visit the amusement park instance and take a look. He nodded. That's fine. The usual rule, bring shade and snow with you. I responded with a long yawn. The overseer chuckled. Sleepy? Then sleep. I'll adjust the temperature. As the air turned pleasantly cool, I lay down on the fur blanket and drifted off. When I opened my eyes again, Machi was yawning too. He struck a triumphant pose. I've completed the challenge. Grinfeather looked drowsy. Congratulations to Machi for completing the challenge. Next up is TNT's dance performance. Let's give them a round of applause. The overseer lightly patted me. Awake? I stretched. Thank you, overseer. I slept very well. He said, this holiday, you've been the most exhausted. Once they finish resting, I'll give you a long vacation of your own. I waved him off. Please don't. If you give me more time off, I truly won't know when I'll ever get around to cleaning. And Patch and the others will definitely start causing trouble again. It took so much effort to achieve this peace. I don't want to hear about real-world bounties on my head again. After TNT's explosive dance performance, I felt completely awake. My mind buzzed as though struck by sound. The overseer glanced over the program list. That should be the end of today's schedule, right? I nodded. It should be. When the final performance ended, I stood up, ready to leave. What I did not expect was that the NPCs had prepared an unbearably awkward surprise for me. Hidden program, Mama Wu, I Can't Leave You, lead vocal, Patch, duet, Celine Zhang, accompaniment, snack artisan, Taylor, lyrics, all NPCs. A piercing piano shriek rang out. That's strange. Distorted sound came from the crimson piano in room 5 on the 3rd floor of the ancient castle instance. The bone flute from the abandoned house. Instance joined in on the second beat, adding a touch of sorrow. Beneath the heavy tolling of the bell from the underground palace, a voice rose, like a summoning chant, Mama Wu. How am I supposed to leave you? I flee from my past, yet return to my true self, of joy, of sorrow, of anger, of love. I turn to you and confess my endless grievances, Mama Wu. I cannot leave you. I don't know why I like you, perhaps because I am clumsy. And too greedy for the little warmth that remains. I long for the next time the door opens, and I see you again. If time were infinite, I would wish for you to return and clean for 10,000 years. This was written by Patch, wasn't it? I muttered. It has to be. If day and night forever cycle, I hope our story never ends. That line was definitely Machi. The overseer looked at me. Why are you crying? I wiped my tears away. Because they're singing terribly. The overseer burst into laughter. They didn't even write a song for me. Rebellion. Rebellion. The cleaner dares bite back at her master. I shot him a look. I wrote you a flattering poem, remember? He waved dismissively. I don't read blinding things. I snorted. I thought about it for a long time. Then let me see it, he said. 1 minute later, he handed it back to me. More blinding than the song they wrote for you. When the song ended, Grinfeather announced the conclusion of Season 1. Thank you to the Overseer for supporting us. We'll see you next season. The live stream screen went dark. The Overseer looked at me. Go rest. Recover well. The danger ahead hasn't passed. I left backstage, muttering to myself, how mortifying. Honestly, what was all that? End of the story. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Love Stories with Lisa for more stories. Thank you so much.